to Kayla's World. I'm Kayla Canoe, aspiring author, and today I am going to be doing the childhood writing tag. So this tag was originally done by CrisTeenWriter. I will link her video below, but I actually came across this tag because TehBuggy did it, and I'm going to link that video below as well for you guys to check out. But yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into the questions. First one is, when and why did you start writing? So my writing history is a bit complex. I am going to say that I started writing in school because I was required to write in school. More specifically, in second grade, I had this very clear moment where I don't even know who asked. I don't know if it was like a teacher or an adult or someone had asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I responded with, I want to write a book. So I definitely did some creative writing as a very, very young child, but a lot of that, again, was actual schoolwork, I think. Yeah. So the second question goes right into that, which is, what is the first story you remember writing? In second grade, I actually wrote what I considered to be a little book. We had these like little tiny, like super thin, like they were like this-ish big, little like pre-bound white books or whatever, and we had to like write stories in them. And basically what I wrote was about my classmates or about my school. So it was like a day in the life of these cat people. So they were cat people. It was like cat versions of the people I went to school with. And I even like drew pictures of them. So they were like humanoid cat people going to school, and they had like the same names as like the kids in my class, and like, yeah, it's very bad. But yeah, so it's all these cat people and going to school. And yeah, that's what I wrote. I basically wrote about my life, but as cats. Third question. What was the first full project you finished, and when, if you have finished one? So I guess that really just depends on what you consider to be a finished project and what exactly we're classifying as a finished project, because technically I finished that cat version story. I like completed my cat people story, so like that was a completed project. I also completed a lot of different writing projects in school that were required because I was in the honors program, and for that we had to write like 5 papers a year, and some of them may have been creative, but most of them were more like argumentative, like having to like tell your opinion and persuade people to agree with your opinion and stuff like that. So I did write a lot of cool things there, had some poetry mixed in, had a lot of dark things that I wrote for that. But if we're talking like novels, I wouldn't necessarily say that my current project is completed, but I did complete the whole first draft of my novel last year, and that's my Intertwined book, the first book in my series. I did complete that last year. I participated in NaNoWriMo 2018 and got the majority of it written, and then at the beginning of 2019 I kind of finished it out. So I finished the first draft, so if you consider that a completed project, I completed that project, but I don't know that I would consider it completed because I'm still revising it and making it like publishable. But yeah. Next question. What genre did you most enjoy writing as a child? Has it changed over time? So really, I had a interesting childhood. I was not really encouraged to write, not necessarily not encouraged, but like in my mind, from my experiences, writing wasn't like a real career. So I actually, as I got older and went through middle school and high school, I didn't actually write. Um, but I did dream up stories all the time, and I was constantly thinking about them in my mind. So I created a lot of stories that never got translated onto paper. And basically, all of these stories were either sci-fi, fantasy, paranormal, romance, some sort of dark romance, something traumatic. um, so even though I didn't write it, my fantasy or the things that I thought about, instead of writing, I just replayed the same scenes and same stories over and over and over in my head with these characters that I had in there. And yeah, those would be the genres that they would fall along. Has it changed over time? Not really. I think I still have a lot of that fantasy, romance, darkness going on in there. If anything, it's expanded to include more diverse characters. Probably more boy love, maybe, but like the boy love was there before too, so it's kind of the same, just more mature and more like diverse, I would say, probably. Number 5. Do you remember the first negative feedback you got on a story? No, I honestly, I don't know. I know I had a lot of feedback, did a lot of paper transferring with people in school for those papers. I know that back when I still lived in Cincinnati, I went to some writer group things and I exchanged parts of one of my stories. I don't remember which one, but I do remember I exchanged something that I had wrote. I think it's for the Intertwined series, with a lady, and honestly, she had nothing but good things to say, which, sometimes people don't want to say negative things, so yeah. I don't really have any vivid memories of someone specifically criticizing my work. And if they did, I feel like I probably would just take it as like a positive thing anyway, so I don't think anything would stand out in like the negative sense of like me being upset about somebody criticizing. Because I've had people read my stuff and like give me comments and stuff, but like I never feel like bad about it, I guess. Like, feedback is good. I'm good with criticism, I guess. Number 6. Who was your favorite character you wrote as a kid? Again, I'm going to fall back into, even though I didn't write, I had a lot of characters in my mind. And actually, we're going to go with one that I more recently did do a little bit of writing of a character that I used to always think about all the time. And now I'm not necessarily going to give him a name because I think his name has changed over time too. But basically, I would always think about a character who was a guy who was basically kidnapped and being tortured. Probably some kind of government conspiracy, something or another, but basically they were injecting him with all these different colored chemicals, and all the different colored chemicals did something different to him, and eventually he had been injected with so much chemicals that like it altered his blood to be black, and so like he would rage out and have like these rage problems, and then like he gets rescued by a military person and ends up in and out of like some psych wards or whatnot. So a lot of different scenarios about this guy who was basically traumatized by being a human science experiment. Yeah, he's probably my favorite character that I've created in my own mind, even though I didn't actually write it on paper. Number 7, share some old writing of yours. Alright, so I'm going to share a little bit of what I have written. It's actually from when I was an adult, because again, I did not write really when I was a child. Unfortunately, didn't think it was a thing I could do. So it's back from like 2013. So it's an old piece that I have not looked at or thought about in a long time, and it's basically supposed to be a story about a serial killer that is actually pansexual, but it's funny because when I wrote it, didn't actually know what that was, but that's what he is. Yeah. Anyway, it's basically about a serial killer who is also a plastic surgeon. So he's like a plastic surgeon by day, serial killer by night, evening, whatever. Has a lot of relationships with a lot of people because he's also polyamorous, which again, funny story. At the time I didn't know what that was, so like I wrote this character or created this character that was both like pansexual and polyamorous, and I had no idea what either one of those two things were. So yeah, I'm just gonna read it, and it's bad. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing now for this. Okay. This is the beginning of it. This is chapter 1. As the sun rises over the neighboring mountaintop, snow surrounding me begins gleaming brightly. My blue eyes tear up as it becomes harder and harder to keep them open. With the gleam of the snow blinding me, I gaze at the blood-painted snow that lays below my feet, reflecting upon last night's endeavor. A gust of bitter wind breaks my trance as it whips across my fair-skinned face. Cleaning must occur quickly before my absence is noticed. I begin transporting mounds of nearby snow to conceal the areas of snow that are drenched in blood. The splatter is easy to cover, but the pools of blood melt the snow as it is placed over them. Several layers of snow are placed over the pools of blood before I successfully cover them. With my rubber-covered snow boots weighing heavy on my feet, I start hiking back towards my cabin. Walking away from what was once a bloody scene, I turn and look back, making sure that there is no longer any signs of blood or a struggle. I approach a nearby 60-foot-tall pine tree and grab a hold of a small lower branch. My thick gloves make it challenging, but I rip the branch from the tree. I use this branch to cover my tracks by slowly dragging it back and forth behind me to erase my foot trail as it is imprinted into the snow. In the middle of my mile hike back to my cabin, I find myself smiling uncontrollably. The freshness of the mountain air, combined with the beauty of the snow and sunrise, has had an uplifting effect that, in conjunction with the pleasures of last night, is providing me with what must be a semblance of happiness. I pause for a moment to bask in this foreign feeling. Continuing on my hike back to the cabin, through the thick mountain forest, I sing Sunshine and Whiskey by Frankie Ballard to distract myself from the bitter cold air that is numbing my hands, feet, and face. Finally, the clearing that leads to my cabin appears up ahead. Quickly, I run up to the clearing and throw the branch that I have been carrying into the woods as I enter into the front yard of my estate. Sneaking up onto the large wooden deck that wraps around the entire cabin, I peer through one of the large windows that looks into the living room. All appears to be quiet inside my modern-styled logged cabin. This means the others are still asleep, and I can sneak back into my bedroom unnoticed. I head around to the back of my cabin, where the doors to my bedroom overlook a spectacular view of the mountains, and slowly open the doors. As quietly as possible, I enter my bedroom and close the doors behind me. In my bed lays Theodore, still sound asleep. Of course, I didn't expect anything less. The risk of him waking up in the middle of the night and noticing my absence was too great, so I had slipped Rufinol into his drink last night. Luckily, he will attribute any side effects of the drug to the hangover he is sure to have from drinking so much last night. I'm just going to stop there because I don't want to drag on too long. Obviously, I was using a lot of ing words and a lot of over-describing everything. Yeah, and it gets sexual after that, so I'm just gonna I'm not gonna read that. But yeah, so that is my old writing. What's next? Let's see. What parts of your writing have improved since then? So obviously, I caught on to the fact that ing words were my downfall, so I do not use ing words anymore. I make a conscious decision of every time I am writing. If I use an ing word, I'm like, oh, what can I change that to? So while there are some ing words, obviously I can't get rid of all of them. I consciously, as I am drafting, make an effort to not use them at all if possible, because they do multiply. They really do multiply. So my writing has improved in that sense. Also, I think I've cut back from the whole descriptor thing too. If anything, I might have stripped back too far. But I don't describe things so much. I don't use so many words. I'm not so wordy anymore, I guess. Number 9. Are there any parts of your writing that hasn't changed much? I mean, I like to think that I'm always writing, and to be honest, I mean, every new thing that you write should be better than the last thing you wrote, because the more you write, the more experienced of a writer you are. And so I'm going to say that there's not parts of my writing that haven't changed, because as I continue to write, I am always changing. Now, what I like to write probably hasn't changed in the fact that I like to write romance and fantasy, and I'm still working on the same story that I have now on my 3rd version of and 2nd draft of. So, alright, so last question is, if you could tell your childhood self one thing, what would it be? Honestly, I would tell myself to write. That writing is indeed a career worth pursuing. That just write. Just do it. Just write. Just write. Because I definitely did not do that when I was younger. And if I had, I would have so much more experience now and be a much better writer. So I would tell myself, who cares what anybody else thinks? Just write. Yeah. So that is it for the childhood writing tag. If you guys like these types of videos, let me know by commenting below, giving me a thumbs up, or subscribing to my channel. I am putting out new videos on Mondays. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed your time here in Kayla's world.